What's up, Buttercup? Welcome to Raw Truth. I'm Lake, and around here, I don't pretend I know I have life figured out. We're just here talking about what we're learning as we go. So, depending on when you're listening, grab your coffee or a cocktail and let's get into it. Who the hell is Lake? Well, that's me. I am a single mom. And I have overcome so much shit in the last few years. When I explain my story to people, it's like one of those stories that they just sit there and quiet and they're like, you did what? I will probably be able to relate to you in some which way, form, or another. And that's honestly all that I want to get out of this. I grew up in a really small town in South Dakota. I still currently live in South Dakota. I grew up with a stay-at-home mom. My dad busted his butt and took care of our family. He wasn't home much because of it, so my mom did a lot of everything for us. She made sure that she was at every single sporting event. I have a little sister who's a couple years younger than me. I feel I really started to figure my shit out once I hit middle school. And when I say figure my shit out, I mean like shit hit the fan. And I really started to learn who the fuck I was. Because let's be honest, I was a shithead. And now that I have a daughter, it's just one of those things that I'm like, what the hell did I sign myself up for? I know how much of a pain in the ass I was for my parents, but she's gonna be a pain in the ass for me. Anyways, back on topic. I grew up super shy. I was bullied in middle school-ish time, and then I finally got my shit together and I started hanging out with the cool kids that were actually not the cool kids, the ones that always were getting into trouble and I wasn't supposed to be around, but that's who I hung out with. And then I got to a point where I finally just told my parents everything. I decided to switch my gears a little bit and I started to confide in them and I was allowed to do a lot more stuff. Then my parents went through a divorce, and believe it or not, they've been through 2 divorces from each other. They have gotten married twice. And the first time I was in high school when they got divorced, I knew that I was going to get away with whatever the hell I wanted if I moved in with my mom. So I did. I moved in with my mom. I was able to do whatever I wanted. My sister was able to do whatever she wanted, but it definitely drove a wedge between me and my dad, and it drove a wedge between me and my sister a little bit because we were not under the same household for about a year and a half, somewhere in there. My parents ended up getting back together when at the end of my senior year. Fast forward, I went to college in a small town in South Dakota, bigger than what I grew up in. And I went for power sports mechanic, so tomboy here, graduated top of my class. And I remember like clear as day, my mom had called me on a Friday and was like, hey, do you want to come home this weekend? Why, what's up? She's like, well, we're gonna get married tomorrow. I was like, no, that's a bad idea. No, I'm not coming home to support that. So I didn't. I did not go home for their second marriage. Fast forward even further, I ended up moving to biggest town in South Dakota, and I actually lived there for about 10 years. I ended up meeting my husband then. My parents had went through their second divorce at this point, and I really started to like figure out my friend group and just like the person I wanted to start to become. So I worked at a dealership for 10 years about total. 5 of those I was at the service counter doing advisor work. If you don't know what that is, that's fine, just customer service. And then 5 of those I ran the service department, and I grew, 4 of those, and I grew our service department from 15 employees to about 30 employees. I loved my job. So that's where it gets into my next bullet point, and that is my mindset shift. And it was when me and my then fiance had moved out of town. Something in me clicked. Something was, I need to start thinking about shit more positively. I need to start telling myself like every day is a good day. I need to find ways to just be more happy and just grow. So that was kind of when my whole mindset like shift started to happen was when I became a manager. I love helping people. I never even really liked to call myself the manager or the boss. I always wanted to call myself the leader. I'm there to lead you, and I'm going to grow you, and we're going to grow together, and we're just going to become so great together. And I just wanted to see my people strive. That was my favorite part of my job, was finding ways to make work their safe place. I loved it. I loved it so much. And I love inspiring people to just try to make their life their safe place now. So I really went through all of this mindset stuff. Well, I got married, and obviously things weren't great in the marriage. And I thought that quitting my job was going to fix or help fix, because I worked a lot of hours, and I decided that maybe that was going to help my marriage. Well, it did not. So I ended up leaving, went through a divorce. I job hopped for quite a while, found out I was pregnant about 5 months after my separation started, a month after my divorce was finalized. I remember thinking, my divorce is the worst thing that I ever went through. I remember thinking to myself, this is the worst part of my life. This is the lowest I will ever get. Boy, was I humbled. When I saw those 2 pink lines on that goddamn stick, at this point, I was with somebody else, fresh relationship, not very stable relationship, and I had always wanted to be a mom. I had promised myself when I was 25 years old, if I never found a guy, I was going to go get pregnant on my own, buy a doctor, and call it good, and have babies and raise them on my own. So when I had gone through my divorce, I thought I was giving up the chance of having babies. I legitimately thought, I was done. I will not have a family. And God really, really, really shows up in weird ways when you actually start to honor yourself and start to put yourself first. And I fucked up. Do not get me wrong. I emotionally cheated at the end of my marriage. And I have never lied about that. I did in the beginning. I have never lied about that since I realized what I did and I learned from it. I just knew that it was going to get to a point where it was physical, and I didn't want that. So that's why I initiated the divorce when I did. And like I said, I thought that my divorce was the worst thing that I was ever going through. And then all of a sudden, I found out I was pregnant with someone that wasn't really ready to be a dad at all. And then I was like, holy shit. I just was humbled by the universe, by God, by my spirit team, the whole 9 yards. Fast forward, obviously, the person that I had became pregnant with, we separated, and I knew I was going to be a single mom. And that was some of the scariest things that I ever went through. I video journal, and I remember I have not ever watched this video back, but I know I could tell you exactly all the feelings I was feeling. And I was a wreck. I was like, how the fuck am I gonna do this? I just knew I was fucking in it. And it's literally me sitting in front of the crib, and I was folding baby clothes by myself, obviously. And I live out in the country, and I have 3 dogs at this point because I was crazy, and I decided to get the German Shepherd when I was 2 months pregnant. I got a puppy. Best decision now, but I just remember sitting there, and I'm like, how the hell am I gonna make this work? Well, I landed a different job. They were pretty understanding about my pregnancy. I wanted to do the all natural route. I didn't want to get induced, so I made it to 2 weeks past my due date and was forced to get induced. I had to get induced. And went through a horrible labor. Went through a 30-hour labor, ended up pushing hard for 5, ended in an emergency C-section. So at this point, I am in the hospital on day 4. The person that I had the baby with was at the hospital, but was not helping at night. I did everything myself, and we fought a lot during the day. Luckily, my family was around, so that was helpful. And I was coming home to a country house on a lake with 3 dogs, and I have help for 5 days, and that's it. My sister was able to stay with me for 5 days. I remember the midwife coming in the day before I was going to get discharged. And she's like, I don't want you lifting baby in the car seat. You can lift separately, but you can't lift both of them together. I said, how the fuck am I going to do that? I am a single mom who lives alone out in the country. And she gave me this look and she's like, oh fuck. Hello, yes, this is my life. It's fine. She's like, well, just put it on the table and put the baby in the car seat on the table and then carry it that height to your vehicle. I'm like, all right, whatever. So that's what I did. So obviously at this point, I had gone through a couple of relationships that really have changed me. I was with my ex-husband for about 7 years. We were really good friends, but just not really good lovers. Like, we were more just like, I have nothing against him. We still catch up every once in a while, and he just wasn't my person, and we just grew apart is really what it came down to. When I started to shift my mindset and I wanted to grow and do all these things, I have really learned that if not both of you are willing to do that, like, you will grow apart naturally. And that's just how the universe works. Obviously, the person I became pregnant with, there was a lot of emotions. I don't like to talk about that kind of stuff, so I will not shed much light on it, just because it's still my baby's parental blood, we'll say. And I will not talk about that situation, but it was not a good situation. It caused me a lot of trauma, a lot of triggering moments, and I am where I am today because of that. And I am thankful for a lot of things, and I'm thankful for my baby, but there's also a lot of things that were very negative about the whole experience. And then I got the only relationship in the last couple of years since then, really screwed me over too mentally. Thought they were my person, had a really, really good connection, but ultimately when things got serious, it got to a point where I was just being fed breadcrumbs and just wasn't fair to me at that point. And of course, in the moment, I don't see those things until like after the fact. Now I see those things. I was literally ghosted. Like, last time I had tried to contact them, which was months ago now, I tried calling 5 times and I was a pool of misery on my garage floor, and just wild because I had really been digging into attachment styles and how relationships work and like the spiritual side of relationships and understanding how I am the way that I am. And I have come a long ways, some serious and anxious attachment style, and like my fear of abandonment is really high. So just imagine someone that grew up with a lot of shit that happened that made them feel abandoned, and then to be a single mom, finally trust somebody enough to let them in, and then you end up getting ghosted after feelings are caught. So my fear of abandonment was reignited after that, and now I am here. I am to a point where, I mean, the healing in my journey, especially in the last year, I have really, really like buckled down, like last year to the last like 8 months, really buckled down on like trusting my intuition and understanding why everything happens exactly how it's supposed to happen, and like finding good in every shitty situation. Like every single situation that we go through, there's something good that comes from it. There's just something good that comes from every shitty thing. I went through a divorce. I honestly think, like, in the dating world, that is my favorite thing to see in a guy. If they have gone through a divorce, and then the follow-up question is, okay, what did you learn from that divorce? Now, there's some guys out there that absolutely are just so fucking arrogant that they don't learn a fucking thing. And that's like an immediate red flag. After my divorce, I sat down and I wrote out a list of things of what I want in a relationship, like really deep things. So I have this checklist, this mental checklist that I go through. So yeah, if someone has been divorced, I hate how people think that's a red flag. That is not a red flag. That is an opportunity to see how somebody handles something hard. So that is my favorite question to ask. And I think that was something really good for me. I really realized that what it means to take somebody for granted as soon as you sign a piece of paper. I took him for granted. He took me for granted. And I learned so much from him. I would not have what I have without him. Like, I have no regrets at all. None. Zip. I don't have any negative feelings towards him. Sure, we had our problems, just like anybody does. And there was so much that I learned from that. There was so much that I learned from my divorce. Like, we were able to stay amicable and not include lawyers. And we were able to figure it out. Fast forward, I learned how talking to people can turn into more than friends so easily, and how you can catch feelings for somebody, especially someone that falls super hard. So like, that is a very hard line that I will draw in the sand now, because I will never ever put myself in a situation like that, to put someone that I love in a situation like that, ever. Granted, I probably would not have gone through my divorce without that happening. So I am thankful for that, to be honest. Like, everything happens for a reason, and I learned from it. I paid well due over on my karma. That relationship, I have learned a lot, what to look out for in red flags, what to like be cautious of when it comes to like jealousy, or having like this mindset of risk, or having like this what's the word I'm thinking? Naive sense of personality of how the world works. And I keep an eye out for a lot of things now. Now it really affects me in the dating world, because like, I am very triggered by a lot of things, but I explain it and I try to process it and try to pretend like I'm a secure attachment and how they would handle it. That really helps me handle shit. So, and then when I got into that last relationship that was more serious in the last couple of years, it really taught me how an anxious person is no better than a avoidant person. And I have talked about this a lot, especially on TikTok, that I cannot fault somebody because of the way that they were raised and how they were raised and taught to handle things, just because I was taught to love bomb somebody when I get stressed or have something come up or feel abandoned or whatever the hell it is, or being scared, and they were taught to run. Like, it's wild at how much, like, when you really think of it, like, that just because I'm showing love in a more toxic way does not mean it's any better than somebody that is taught to run when things get hard. So that's really how my healing journey has really like kicked off. And the last like 6 months to 8 months, I really dug into everything. It seriously ignites a fire under my ass when I'm able to talk about it. I have never felt this close to my spiritual side ever. And people who are straight Christian or religious probably think the worst of me, but my belief system is there is a higher power, and I just need to be a good fucking person, and I need to take what the universe puts at me, and everything that the universe puts in front of me is a learning opportunity. The last time that I went through like dating before I got into something serious again, I remember like using dating as a learning opportunity. I remember like I would start talking to someone and I'd be like, I don't really like that. So I'd jot that down. Or, ooh, I do really like that about someone. It pretty much was like a red and green flag list of qualities that I would like in a person and that I would not like in a person, and what I will not settle for in a person. So that was super interesting when I started to switch my mindset about that. So this really gets into the next part that I want to talk about, and I'll probably wrap it up here shortly, but why did I start my Raw Truth movement, or my Raw Truth TikTok, or why I talk about the things I talk about, is because I realized that I have really started to help some people, single moms, single dads, parents, people just going through some shit, to really like focus on the positives and not focus on the negatives. And I have gotten paragraphs in my inbox, in my DMs, in my TikToks, in voice messages, and friends that message me, and they're like, you helped me get out of bed today. You helped me get in the shower and go take care of my kids. You helped me keep going. You helped me get back into the gym. There's been so many people that have messaged me and told me that I helped them get back in the gym. I am a solo mom. And when I say solo mom, I 100% have my baby 100% of the time. There's no trade-offs. There's nothing. I 100% financially support us. 100%. We have no financial support from anybody, including the other person. So I go to the gym it's been slack, but I have a home gym now. I work out about 4 days a week, only 20 minutes a day. Usually I go in my lunch hour. I work out hard and lift for a few like 20 minutes, and then I go home or go back to work. I guess I don't go home, but I found a way to fit it into my schedule, and I've made a huge improvement on my body. I have lost all my baby weight, and I'm probably the most fit I have ever been in. So when I talk about why did I start this, I promised myself I was going to start being more vulnerable online. And then this year I was going to start being more vulnerable and talking about the hard things and why I'm doing what I'm doing and my mindset and how to be an alchemist and how to just make everything. It's all connected. It's all fucking connected. Every single thing. So, what can the listeners expect to hear on Raw Truth with Lake? It's just that. I just want to get out here. I want to talk about my life. I want to talk about what I'm going through. It's going to change. Hopefully I'm not a single mom forever. Hopefully someday I can talk about all the other challenges that I might be going through, or parenting, or getting out on my motorcycle and just finding ways to fill my fucking cup, even though I'm a solo mom, or the struggles of being a solo parent, or the struggles of making sure that you eat when you commute an hour every day, one way. I just want to be somewhere that you can listen in and listen to me for 30 to 45 minutes and just be like, fuck, I'm not alone. I don't have to do this alone. Someone else is going through the same shit that I'm going through, or someone else is trying to work on habits to make themselves a better person. So just remember, you do not have to have it all figured out. Just keep showing up, keep filling your fucking cup, and keep living your raw truth.